is great. But on the other side, on the flip side, he'll go out of his way. He'll help so many people, and he never loses his sense of humor, which is huge. Really,
even with Mario chiming in like this.
Oh, let me tell you something. You could sit around with us four, and you will have the greatest time of your life laughing.
That's what
did you see the size of Avi, do you see the size of Mario's head? Isn't it? I mean, I don't know how he doesn't have
in the words of Hogan's Heroes, I know nothing, I say nothing, I saw nothing. I'm not getting involved in that one. I'm not getting involved in that one. All I know is that Mario promised me a cheesecake, so I'm going to be on his good side. That's all I know. But Steve, man, I got to tell you about there's something I found out the other day, and I think this is really interesting. So, post pro wrestling, another career took hold of you, right? What was that exactly? What did you delve into after pro wrestling?
I became a bounty hunter. Well, first I opened up a towing company that took off. It took off for us. We started with one truck, and in 6 months we had 7 trucks running 24/7, which was good. You know, I've been blessed, I could say. That's why I try to help other people, because I'm very fortunate. I didn't. I'm sure Paul told you, but I never finished school. I left school in the 8th grade, so I was living on my own when I was young. So I had to work. That's all I knew how to do, is work and work hard, and try to save my money, because I knew what it was like to be broke, and I didn't want to go back there again.
Sure.
So
sure.
My uncle and I started a towing company. I was working for somebody, and then he said to me, "Why don't you open up your own?" And I didn't have the money to open it. He said, "I'll help you find a place." So we found the place, and it took off, and we bought another building, and then scrap metal went way down. I was hoping for it to get back up, and then one of my guys got into a severe accident with the tow truck, and it just killed my company, killed it. He hit a cop on the way to doing a tow. He hit a cop car, and the cop broke his neck, and a few years later he died.
Wow.
So the company, they froze the company. AAA and all the repo companies we were working for said that until the investigation was over, they couldn't give us work. So I had to find another career. So I started bounty hunting. Schultz taught me how to bounty hunt, and then I went on my own with my uncle. He owned a big company, and then he made me a bondsman. And ever since then, I've been cleaning up on that until the state just cleaned us up on that. I got to keep reinventing myself, because nobody wants to let me earn money for the rest of my life. So I actually opened up. Actually wanted to open up the school for Mario, because he was going through a hard time, and we all just love this stuff and love wrestling. So I figured if we did this, we'd all have time to be together and have a good time. And if we got students, we got them. If we didn't, we didn't. But I bought all this stuff and put it in the warehouse, and we started it up, and we got Paul with us, and Paul Perez, and it just started coming together.
Yeah, and you know what? It's coming together.
So I just let all my money sit over there.
Right. I have a question for you, though.
All my money sit over there.
And who guards the money when you let it sit over there? Paul? Mario? Paul Perez?
Paul,
two Pauls?
Yeah, Paul Perez.
Paul Perez. Big Steve, I got a question for you, though. I want to take it back. I want to take it back to your bounty hunter days, and I want to throw it over to Paul as well. What's a misconception about being a bounty hunter? For instance, there's a lot of viewers that are tuning in, may not have an idea of exactly what it is. What's the most challenging aspect of being a bounty hunter?
Well, you got to find the people. You got to know where they are so you can find them. But I was fortunate even in that. I never treated anybody like a piece of garbage. So when I took them out, I talked to them, and they knew that when I came to their house to get them, I took you out. I didn't do anything wrong. You did. So don't make it ugly for me. And their mothers and fathers, they always did the right thing by me. I was very fortunate. So,
Man,
and I had
Paul,
Dr. D's the one who, he kind of taught
Dr.
me.
D? Sure. Paul, Dr. D, of course, was around when you were there as well. Did you keep in touch with Dr. D? This is actually a question from Lucinda asking me. Paul, did you keep in touch with Dr. D after he left working for Vince?
No, I didn't. I didn't really friend Dr. D. I met him a few times. I spoke to him a few times. We got along. But, Big Steve and Mario stay in touch with Dr. D all the time.
Got it. This is something else I want to bring up, guys, because we're talking about PAPW. Of course, Big Steve and Paul Roma and Paul Perez and Mario, you guys run it so well that everybody feels like they're part of the family. It's not just learning the ropes. And I want to bring something up and share the screen because this is a press release that Paul actually sent me regarding PAPW. There is a pay-per-view coming around the corner. You could see this press release came out December the 21st, last week. East Haven, Connecticut. Paradise Alley Pro Wrestling is excited to make a debut on IPPV for the first time ever with Under the Radar. Of course, it will actually air. Let me just try to see if I can make this screen a bit smaller so we can read this. It is going to air January 2nd at 7 p.m. You know what, guys? That's coming up this Saturday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Can you talk more about this pay-per-view, Big Steve and Paul?
7 o'clock rolls around. It's you go to our website, and it's just going to be pretty much plug and play. They are charging $4.99, which is absolutely nothing to pay, to watch these matches, and see what kind of talent and what our school produces, and see that I'm not, again, maintaining the truth. I'm maintaining the truth when it comes to these young guys being so good in the shows that they put on and perform, for the people. So, if you go to the www.paradisealleyprofessionalwrestling.com, you'll have a link to go into and, watch the show at 7 p.m. It's not going to be
check this out. $4.99 to watch this incredible pay-per-view which will take place Saturday. Yeah.
Avi, you know what's important too is that we don't make a lot of money off of any of this stuff.
Sure.
Paul said in the beginning, we do a lot of charity work. We donate money. None of us are earning a living from this. It's pretty much, it's charity work pretty much. But Paul does what he likes to do and train the people. I love the school, and I love that we're all together. And Mario's good, loves to train the kids too and get into it. And really, the $4.99, we're not making no money. We're just trying to keep our doors open, pay our rent, and teach these kids and have a good time doing it. There's no payroll coming out of this place.
To me, it sounds like, I always bring this up, Paul and Steve, the real LOL. It sounds like a labor of love. That's what it sounds like, a true labor of love. And that's something people need. You guys do this, again, not because it's necessary. The great thing about some of these discussions we've had on maintaining the truth is that, again, there's life after pro wrestling, but you guys are giving back. That's what's important to know. I want the masses to know. We've got a lot of people watching this show. You guys give back. PAPW gives back. And you give back to all of your students. And I think the greatest thing about this promotion isn't that it's just a bunch of young kids learning the ropes. I keep bringing this up. But you guys take the time. There was a story that Mario told me. I believe it was Mario. Paul, some of the students were even watching you. They kind of noticed that you were cleaning up some of the walls and the bathroom area. That shows them what humility is all about. You guys don't go in there pretentious with your noses shoved up in the air. There's a lot of trainers all across the states that don't even show up to train their own students. They just collect. You guys do this because it means a lot to you. It's a labor of love.
Well, yeah, and we have heard horror stories, about these trainers. How they'll make the students, clean the bathrooms with a brush, and I'm talking about a toothbrush, to see if they could get them to quit or, if they'll put up with it. We don't do that. I believe we ran something like 10 shows one year, one every month. And out of those 10 shows, 9 of them were for charity.
Wow.
One show we actually just ran for ourselves so that, again, we can help pay the rent. And we can help, if we need something for the ring, whether it's ring ropes or turnbuckles or, whatever the case may be. And now with this show, these are my students. Our students put this together. Don't get me wrong. Mario got involved and said, hey, listen, do this. We got the internet for you. Let's do this. And, they put this together and they get it. They really do get it. They, when we ran what we called a Diesel Mania, we were in the red really bad. And I turned to all my students. I say, hey guys, listen, we didn't make what we thought we could make. So we can't pay you. And there wasn't one guy that complained. They all understood and they said, fine. And they knew that, we didn't make, they could tell, you could count the heads in the crowd, and I'm talking years ago when we first started out. So you could count the heads in the crowd. They know. And we took that money, the little bit that we made, and we kept our word like we always do. We gave it to that charity. And that's what we do. And that's what we preach. And that's what we teach. And Steve, I mean, you're big into the church. You do a lot of work for the church. So this is where we all stem from. This is where, we teach our students to go and the way to think,
Yeah.
Avi, where did you learn how to become a wrestler?
Ted Petty trained me. I was bodybuilding, and Dennis Carluzzo, who ran NWA New Jersey, I don't know if you guys remember Dennis. He was quite the character. Dennis had actually seen me bodybuild. And back then, believe it or not, I know it's hard to believe now when you look at this fine specimen, but back then, I pretty much was a fine. I could give Paul Roma a run for his money. I learned the ropes from Ted Petty. I didn't know what pro wrestling was since I was a kid. He gave me my toolbox, essentially. He taught me the fundamentals. He pretty much, I remember one of the first things he ever told me before one of my matches was, don't worry, kid, it's going to be easy. You're going to start out doing the do-si-do, then the seesaw, and then you slip on a banana peel. I didn't know what that meant. I had no idea what that meant when he told me that. But I mean, I learned the hard way. It wasn't about the quantity of moves that I had. He took some of the best stuff that I had, which wasn't a lot. He took some of the best stuff that I had, and he made sure to implement that during certain portions in the match that made sense. For instance, one time I looked at the top rope, and all he did was look back at me, Steve, and say, no. And I never went on the top rope in my entire life. But Dennis Carluzzo, I wrestled for him. I wrestled for a guy named Bobby Lombardi in the LIWF for Long Island as well, mostly the East Coast. King Kong Bundy, Chris Pallies, was one of the people that I bonded with. He was an amazing human being with a sharp wit, sharp sense of humor. I got to break bread with him a lot. There were a lot of veterans that kind of taught me the ropes, but that's why I'm trying to bring this back to what you guys are doing. When I was on the road, it was kill or be killed, essentially. There was really no loyalty. It was you were doing whatever you can to keep up with the schedule. Sometimes you had to be a weekend warrior because there weren't enough shows that you were booked on. But what you guys are doing with your students is even when there isn't a show, they essentially know that the door is open and they could go in there whenever they want and train. Is that right?
That's correct. Yeah.
I got to tell you, these guys now are very fortunate to have Mario and Paul and teach them because Mario taught me, but I'll tell you the truth, it was way different than it is in our school. Way different. When I see some of these guys in there, and I don't. They beat the hell out of me. I mean, nobody was coddling me. I wasn't calling anybody dad or, I couldn't wait to get out of there after I was done. I was buying rolls of Tylenol and tubes at the Star Distributor with 6 bottles at a time.
So you think a lot of the kids today have a lot of they don't have a lot of etiquette, right? Is that what it is? They don't have a lot of etiquette.
But sometimes I get mad the way they treat them. Paul and Mario treat them, but they're right. If you're too hard on them, you'll lose them. When I started with Mario, I wanted to become a wrestler. There was no other alternative. That was it. And if Mario beat me up, he beat me up. If he had everybody in the school beat me up, I was coming back, and I wanted to be a wrestler. I went home with cracked ribs. These guys now, you can't. You treat them the way we got treated, and they won't come back. They won't.
No, there was a kid.
So
I forget his name. I got to tell you, there was a kid that I remember mouthing off years ago when I was doing the Indies, and we were on our way to Boston for a show, and Bundy wasn't driving, but he heard this kid yapping in the back for so long that he told the guy to stop the car. He told the kid who was yapping to open up the trunk and to just get some stuff in there for him. And then as soon as that happened, this guy hauled you-know-what. And they went 90 miles an hour. They left this kid. He had to literally pull his thumb up, do the old hitchhiking deal. When he goes back to the arena, you wouldn't believe it. The guy was thanking Bundy for doing that. He was like, thank you. Thank you. I realized my errors, my ways, and I was mouthy. And I mean, you just don't see that anymore today. You don't.
Yeah.
You know what? It's like life. That's how you learn.
You're right.
You learn.
You're absolutely right about that.
Wrestling, you learn life too. Don't be a smart ass, and that won't happen to you.
You're right about that.